Good day, everybody. Dave here again, still. It's another day in the workshop. I think it's another finish day, so it'll be a short day. Normally my day starts around 9. I'm out of here by 3:30 at the very latest and done for the day. It's fun. So I don't like to work all day. I do lose track of time sometimes and don't get in until later, but pretty much that's all I do. I thought I would take a few minutes, show you what the boxes look like that I've got on the bench right now. Most of them are done. I've got a couple that are in the process of little final sanding on that last finish that I put on. But for the most part, these are all done. There are 8 boxes, and I'll give you kind of take a look at what they are. This particular box, and there's another one that's very similar, is spalted pine. The spalting refers to the grayish coloration that's in the grain of the wood that's caused by perhaps wood sitting too long on the ground, and it absorbs some minerals and does provide some really beautiful coloration. These boxes are all box joints, refers to the corners. They all have lids on them, fastened by some fancy little brass hinges that I put on the backside because they are, I'll call them delicate hinges. They are fun to do. And this particular size box, relatively small based on some of the other ones that I've made, but I think they provide a nice little box for sitting on the counter, throw recipe cards in, sitting in your entryway to throw your keys in, sitting alongside your favorite recliner or chair to throw maybe remote controls in, or all the things that we need to survive. Things like glasses, cleaners, and nail files, and that kind of stuff. I'll be putting a brand on the bottom, putting some cork feet on, and then these will be done. So there's 2 in the spalted coloration. The fun part oftentimes is deciding, where does that knot go? Do I put it on the top? Do I put it on the front? This one, I put this little knot in the middle just because, I don't know, maybe I thought it looked like a keyhole. I don't know. That's what I chose. Second couple of boxes that I made. Oh, by the way, these are finished in a water-based satin. And I use Helmsman because I have been using Helmsman for a long, long time. And I know what that product is going to give me. There are a variety of different kinds of varnishes. Helmsman, I know how it works well for me. I have 2 boxes made out of mahogany. So 2 of them are finished in oil base. 2 of them, these are oil based finishes. I like, again, this is satin, very similar in construction, very similar in size, not the exact same size, and that's because of the wood that I had available allowed me to make a box this size and not this size. So they are slightly different, both in height, depth, and width. So there's 2 like that. This I chose as the front because it's got this cool arrowhead pattern on it, and I chose this back and exposed this nice looking grain on the back. Again, open and close, no big deal. So there's 2 like that are finished in oil base. Then I've got 2 that are cherry, and these are solid cherry. Again, slightly larger because that's what the wood that I had would give me. and very similar, same kind of hinges, same kind of box joints. These two are finished in water base. I also have one cherry that I finished in oil base. Now the top for this one I've got that I'm putting a different kind of finish on. These are satin finishes in oil base. I'm doing a different kind with also oil base, but a gloss finish on the top. And that one's got a maple top, and it's curly maple that I treated with iron nitrate and heat, and the curly maple with that, and a gloss finish is just absolutely gorgeous. So these were cut from the same piece of wood, same piece of cherry, and you can see the difference in the finish, how the water-based finish maintains a lighter color and the oil-based finish darkens that wood. So it's not actually a stain, but the oil-base does darken. Oil-base will always darken no matter what wood you put it on, as opposed to putting a water-based finish on. But there's two cherry that are, these two cherries are exactly the same size. And again, the same hinges. And I had that supply of hinges, and I thought, well, what am I going to use these on? So I used them all up. Now, sadly, those hinges are not available anywhere anymore. They're a Stanley hinge, small. And I've looked at a variety of different hardware stores, and I don't know, even Amazon doesn't have them in stock anywhere. I don't know what I'm going to do to replace that hinge. I like the hinge because it fits the thickness of the wood and how I mount those. If I get a different kind of hinge, then I have to consider mounting them slightly differently. This one has a different configuration of hinges, and I mortised these hinges in for a variety of different reasons, not the least of which is it's a different hinge, and it looks better this way. It's a more complicated way of doing things, harder to get the top to line up so that it's flush on the back when you do it this way. But so that's the reason that I use the other hinge. That, and I had them, so I thought, well, I've got to use them up. So that's what I want to do. The last box that I want to show you, this is canary wood. And I've done boxes real similar to this in the past. These are mitered corners, so you cut them at 45, and then you glue them all together, and 45 and 45, of course, makes 90, and a 90 makes a nice square corner. This has a grain that flows around from one side across the top and across the other side and around the back. So it's all made out of a single board, and you make the appropriate cuts so that it looks like the grain flows around. That's by design. It also has a slide-in top. And again, I've done slide-in tops before, but what I haven't done in the past is made it so that when the box is closed, that top is flush. I've cut this in a thinner piece of wood. This is 1/2 inch stock. I've cut it in a thinner piece of wood so that I've only got a 1/4 inch that slides in, and therefore you get a 1/4 inch reveal or 1/8 inch reveal on the top, and therefore this top piece is recessed down, and it looks great. And I've used a different kind of wood, maybe an African Padauk, which is a reddish orange kind of wood, and it looks really pretty with this canary wood. But I decided I wanted to try this flush on the top, and then gives just a 1/16 of an inch reveal all the way around the top. So it's kind of a cool box. I'll be making these in mahogany. Once I get that milled to the right thickness, I already have some 1/2 inch stock in the canary wood. I probably got enough for 4, 5, 6 boxes, something like that, in canary wood. And I'll also make a couple in cherry. I showed this box to an individual that I've done business with in the past. He happens to be a friend of mine, works at one of the stores that I shop at. And I showed him this box, and he said, make me one in cherry. So I'm going to make one in cherry for my pal Scott. I'm sure he'll enjoy it. He's bought a couple other boxes from me in the past. So that's what I'm doing today. I do have some light finished work to do, and it's getting ready to mill up some different woods, get things ready for the next set of boxes. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these boxes. Haven't figured that part out yet. I don't know what I'm going to do with a lot of the boxes that I make. I've got some earmarked for friends and relatives that I just plan on giving them some boxes because I don't have room in the house for many more boxes. In fact, I've got some stock sitting on the rack over behind me to make a shelf over the sliding glass door so that we've got room to display some of the boxes that I make. My point is that I do this not to make money. Plan was not necessarily to sit at a craft show or get an Etsy store or sell them on Facebook Marketplace. I've been giving them away as gifts, and I have sold a few pieces. But I'd sell them if somebody came up to me and said, I'd like to buy one of those boxes. Then I'd have to figure out what I'd charge for it. But that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because you can't retire and sit on your butt all day and eat, because that's what I would tend to do. If I were sitting and reading, I'd also want to be eating. And I don't want to get into that. I think retirement needs to be filled with joy. And this brings me a lot of joy. The real joy comes in stages as you start to put these things together. You start making your wood selection, and you start to do your mill work, and then you start putting them together, and you start seeing these things come together and go from being a flat piece of lumber to something that's really beautiful, at least in my eyes. And experimenting with doing some different things, trying some different approaches to the joinery and to the design. And I plan on continuing to do that, continuing to learn how to do different things with wood because it's fun. Excuse me. It's really dry in my shop. It is heated. There is in-floor heat. Percentage of humidity here in the shop varies from anywhere from 12 to 15%, which is really low. What the house tends to run at is between 38 and 40% humidity, and so it's really dry. As a result, I drink tons of water. But so that's what we're doing today. Making some wood selection, bringing some joy. Again, the real joy comes in when I get to give somebody a box and I can see the appreciation on the expression on their face. At least that's what it looks like to me. Enjoy the rest of your day. I got to get to work. You guys have a good day. See you on the next video.